Hello, my sci-fi lovers. I need your love. Before we start, tap that iCard button in the top right corner and smash that subscribe button right now. Hit the notification bell so you're first in line when new stories land. Alright, let's dive into the story. Chapter 1. The crimson sun hung low over Krellis 5, casting long shadows across the ruined cityscape. Commander Ava Carter wiped sweat from her brow, leaving a dark streak of grime across her forehead. Her form-fitting combat suit, once sleek and black, was now torn and scorched from 3 days of relentless fighting. She crouched behind the shattered remains of an energy converter, her emerald eyes scanning the smoldering battlefield through the haze of smoke and ash. Status report, she barked in her comm, her voice hoarse from shouting over explosions. Sergeant Marcus Cole's voice crackled through the static. Perimeter's gone, Commander. East Sector's crawling with those metal bastards. We got maybe 20 soldiers left who can still hold a rifle. Ava clenched her jaw. 20 against an army of machines. The numbers didn't add up, but then again, nothing about this invasion did. The enemy had come without warning, their war machines descending from the sky like a swarm of mechanical locusts. She turned to her second-in-command, Lieutenant Daniel Reeves, who was busy jury-rigging a damaged plasma cannon. Any word from Earth Command? Daniel didn't look up from his work, his muscular arms straining as he twisted wires together. Same as last time. Reinforcements are en route. That was 6 hours ago. A bitter laugh escaped Ava's lips. They're going to send flowers to our funerals instead. Marcus crawled over to join them, his scarred face grim under the soot. At 35, he was the oldest in their unit, his dark hair streaked with premature gray. You know what I don't get? Why this rock? Krellis 5's got nothing but bad weather and worse whiskey. Daniel finally got the cannon to spark to life. They may really hate our taste in decor. He gestured to the ruined city around them. Ava opened her mouth to respond when the ground suddenly trembled. A deep, metallic screech echoed through the ruins, sending a flock of native bird-like creatures scattering into the crimson sky. That's not one of ours, Marcus muttered, his grip tightening on his rifle. Ava peered over the rubble. Her blood turned to ice. Towering above the ruins was a new war machine, twice the size of the others, its segmented limbs moving with unnatural grace. Blue energy crackled along its joints as it methodically crushed buildings beneath its massive feet. Okay, Daniel said, swallowing hard. That's new. Ava grabbed the broken radio from her belt. This is Commander Carter to any Allied forces. We are facing a new class of enemy combatant. Request immediate. The radio hissed with static before a voice, faint but clear, cut through. Hold your position, Krellis forces. Reinforcements inbound. Marcus's eyebrows shot up. You've got to be kidding me. Ava's heart pounded. Say again, unidentified voice. What's your ETA? The response made the hair on her arm stand up. Look up. As one, the surviving defenders turned their faces skyward. The clouds parted, and for a moment, Ava thought she saw shooting stars streaking through the atmosphere. Then the first impact hit, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. Daniel's mouth fell open. Those aren't dropships. Dust and debris swirled as 5 massive figures emerged from the craters. Humanoid, but towering over even the largest war machines. Their black and gold armor gleamed under the alien sun. The lead figure removed its helmet, revealing a handsome face with piercing blue eyes and a cocky grin. Captain Jace Riker, Earth Special Forces, he announced, as if this were a casual introduction at a bar rather than the middle of a war zone. Sorry we're late. Traffic was hell. Ava could only stare, her mind struggling to process what she was seeing. These weren't just soldiers. There was something else entirely. And as the largest enemy war machine turned toward them with a bone-chilling screech, Jace simply cracked his neck and said, "All right, kids, let's show them why you don't mess with Earth." His squad's weapons hummed to life in unison, bathing the battlefield in an eerie blue glow. For the first time in days, Ava allowed herself to feel something she thought was lost. Hope. Chapter 2. The battlefield fell eerily silent as the towering newcomers took positions. Ava's fingers twitched near her sidearm, torn between relief and suspicion. These so-called reinforcements moved with unnatural synchronization, their armored forms casting long shadows across the ruined cityscape. Jace Riker's squad fanned out with mechanical precision, their glowing blue visors scanning the terrain. The lead war machine, the massive new threat, pivoted toward them with a hydraulic hiss. Riker, Ava shouted over the rising whine of charging energy weapons. That thing took out an entire battalion in 10 minutes. Jace didn't even flinch as he checked the readouts on his forearm display. Then it's about to have a really bad day. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Kara Voss, materialized at Ava's side. The auburn-haired soldier moved so quietly that Ava hadn't heard her approach. Up close, the woman's armor pulsed with faint bioluminescent patterns beneath the black plating. "Commander," Kara said with a nod, "might want to tell your people to take cover." Before Ava could respond, the enemy machine unleashed a devastating energy blast. Jace didn't dodge. He raised his arm and took the hit head-on. The explosion rocked the battlefield, sending debris flying. Marcus grabbed Ava's arm. "He's dead." But as the smoke cleared, Jace stood unharmed, his armor glowing white-hot where the blast had struck. The energy dissipated across his plating like water on glass. "Okay," Daniel breathed. "What the hell are you people?" Jace's grin was visible even through his visor. The cavalry. With a gesture from Kara, the squad activated their weapons simultaneously. High-frequency blades extended from their forearms, humming with barely contained power. The war machine hesitated, the first sign of uncertainty they'd seen from the invaders. Marcus, Ava snapped, flanking positions. "Daniel, get those wounded clear." Jace shook his head. "Negative, Commander. This is our dance." He launched forward with impossible speed, closing the 100-yard gap in seconds. The war machine barely had time to react before Jace's blade sheared through its primary weapon mount. The other 4 armored figures moved in perfect unison, striking vulnerable points with surgical precision. Ava watched in stunned silence as the once invincible war machine staggered under the assault. Its counterattacks glanced harmlessly off the black and gold armor, while every strike from Jace's squad found critical systems. Kara appeared beside Ava again, her voice calm despite the chaos. "You should record this. Intel will want footage." "That thing was slaughtering us," Ava whispered. "You're treating it like target practice." Kara's visor retracted, revealing piercing green eyes and an amused smirk. "We've had better training." With a final, shuddering groan, the war machine collapsed in a heap of sparking metal. Jace planted one boot on its ruined chassis and turned to face Ava's stunned survivors. "Round 1 to Earth," he announced. Then his voice turned serious. "But we've got bigger problems." This was just the scout. A chill ran down Ava's spine. "Scout!" Jace's armor hissed as systems powered down. "You didn't think the machines were the real enemy, did you?" Behind them, the fallen war machine's carcass twitched. Something wet and pulsating began oozing from its shattered joints. Marcus took an involuntary step back. "What fresh hell is this?" Kara's weapon snapped up instantly. "The kind that gets worse before it gets better." Jace moved to stand between the oozing mass and Ava's team, his armor humming back to full power. "Commander Carter," he said quietly, "you might want to brace your people. The war you thought you were fighting." He activated his blade with a sharp snap hiss. "It's not even close to the real one." Chapter 3. The pulsating mass oozing from the war machine's wreckage twitched like a dying nerve. Ava's stomach turned as the thick, bioluminescent fluid began forming tendrils that slithered across the broken metal. "Everyone back," Jace barked, his squad forming a protective circle around the Krellis survivors. His armor's glow intensified casting eerie blue shadows across the battlefield. Daniel gripped his plasma rifle tighter, his knuckles white. What is that thing? Kara's visor displayed rapid scans. The real enemy. The machines are just shells. A thick tendril lashed out suddenly, striking toward Marcus. Before it could connect, Jace intercepted it with his blade. The severed end writhed on the ground before dissolving into acrid smoke. Ava's mind raced. You're saying we've been fighting, what? Some kind of parasite? Jace kept his weapon trained on the twitching mass. More like a hive mind. They hijacked technology, turn it against the owners. The remains of the war machine began vibrating violently. Kara's sensors beeped a warning. It's going critical. Jace grabbed Ava's arm. Run. Now. They barely made it 50 yards before the explosion rocked the battlefield. A shockwave of heat and unnatural blue fire rolled over them, sending everyone tumbling. Ava hit the ground hard, her ears ringing. When she looked back, the wreckage was gone, replaced by a smoldering crater filled with glowing blue ichor that bubbled like acid. Marcus coughed, wiping blood from his lip. Well, that's something you don't see every day. Jace helped Ava up, his grip surprisingly gentle despite the armored gauntlets. That was just a fragment. The main hive is underground. Daniel's face paled. You mean there's more of that stuff? Kara nodded grimly. Enough to infect an entire planet. Ava studied Jace's armor up close for the first time. The patterns she'd mistaken for decorative were actually pulsing veins of the same blue energy. A terrible realization dawned. That's why Earth sent you, she whispered. You're immune. Jace exchanged a look with Kara. Not exactly immune. He removed his gauntlet, revealing skin traced with faint blue lines that matched his armor's glow. Marcus recoiled. Holy hell. You're infected too. Kara shook her head. We're enhanced. Earth scientists reverse-engineered the hive's biology after the first attacks. Jace flexed his hand, the blue lines pulsing. Our systems fight fire with fire. Literally, a distant rumble shook the ground. More war machines appeared on the horizon, their movements more erratic than before. Kara's sensors flared red. They know we're here. The hive's adapting. Jace slammed his gauntlet back on. Then we hit it before it evolves. He turned to Ava. Commander, we need your local knowledge. Where's the strongest energy signature on this rock? Ava's mind flashed to the abandoned geothermal plant. The power station, but it's deep underground. Jace's grin returned, though it looked more dangerous now. Perfect. Hives always go for the juiciest power source. Daniel grabbed Ava's arm. You can't seriously be considering this? That's suicide. Jace activated his comm, orbital, prepped the bunker busters. He turned back to Ava. Your call, Commander. We can glass the site from orbit, or take the fight to them. The war machines were getting closer. Ava could see the same blue ooze leaking from their joints. She made her decision. Show me how we kill a hive mind. Jace nodded approvingly. Now you're talking my language. As they moved out, Kara fell into step beside Ava. For what it's worth, she said quietly, you've got good instincts. Ava adjusted her grip on her rifle. Just tell me one thing. How bad is this really going to get? Kara's visor slid shut with a hiss. You ever see what happens when an ant colony goes to war? Chapter 4. The descent into the geothermal plant felt like entering a living nightmare. Flickering emergency lights cast long shadows across the rusted metal catwalks, their dim glow barely piercing the thick darkness below. The air reeked of ozone and something far worse. A cloying, organic stench that made Ava's eyes water. Jace took point, his armor's blue glow providing the only reliable light. Stay close, he warned, his voice barely above a whisper. The hive's defenses get more creative underground. Marcus wiped sweat from his brow, his rifle sweeping across the darkness. You know, when I signed up for this mission, I pictured more above-ground fighting. Maybe a beach somewhere. Kara chuckled darkly as she adjusted something on her wrist display. Sorry to disappoint, Sergeant. War doesn't do vacation packages. A sudden skittering noise echoed through the cavernous space. Daniel's head snapped around. What was that? Before anyone could answer, the catwalk beneath them shuddered violently. Rusted metal groaned as something massive moved in the shadows below. Jace immediately went into a defensive stance. Contact. Form up. The creature that emerged from the darkness was neither machine nor organic, but some horrific fusion of both. Twisted metal limbs supported a pulsating, gelatinous body streaked with blue veins. Dozens of glowing eyes blinked open across its surface, each tracking the soldiers with eerie precision. Ava's breath caught in her throat. That's impossible. The abomination lunged with terrifying speed. Jace met it head-on, his armored fist smashing through its outer layer with a sickening squelch. Blue ichor sprayed across the catwalk, sizzling where it touched the metal. Kara opened fire with her wrist-mounted plasma caster. Daniel. The supports. Daniel didn't hesitate. His plasma rifle flared to life, cutting through the corroded metal beams holding the creature's platform. With a deafening screech, the monstrosity tumbled into the abyss below. The silence that followed was broken only by Marcus's shaky exhale. Okay, new rule. No more dark places. Jace's armor pulsed as he scanned the depths. This is just a scout. The main hive will be deeper. Ava noticed his left arm was trembling slightly. Thin wisps of smoke rose from where the creature's fluids had contacted his armor. You're hurt. Jace flexed a hand. Temporary systems conflict. Their biology reacts poorly to ours. Kara moved to check his readouts. Your dampeners are at 60%. We need to move fast. As they pressed deeper, the walls began changing. What should have been cold metal was now covered in pulsating organic growths, their vein surfaces throbbing with the same blue energy. Daniel gagged. It's converting the entire facility. Jace nodded grimly. Standard hive behavior. Give it enough time, and this whole planet would become part of the network. A sudden vibration shook the catwalk. Then another, and another. Marcus's face went pale. Please tell me that's just bad plumbing. From every tunnel and ventilation shaft, dozens of the hybrid creatures began emerging. Their mismatched limbs scraped against metal as they converged on the squad's position. Kara's weapons systems hummed to full power. Well, we found their welcoming committee. Jace turned to Ava, his visor reflecting the approaching horde. Time to choose, Commander. Fall back or push through. Ava looked at her battered team, then at the nightmarish tunnel ahead. Somewhere down, there was the heart of this nightmare. She chambered a round in her rifle. We finished this. Jace's grin was visible even through his helmet. That's what I was hoping you'd say. As the creatures charged, the squad opened fire, their weapons lighting up the darkness in flashes of plasma and energy. The battle for Krella's 5 soul had reached its turning point, and deep below them, something vast and ancient stirred in response. Chapter 5. The deeper they went, the more the geothermal plant had ceased to resemble human engineering. The walls breathed with organic pulsations, veins of blue energy pulsing through what had once been steel and concrete. The air grew thick with a metallic tang that coated Ava's tongue and made her eyes sting. Jace held up a fist, bringing the group to a halt. His armor's glow had intensified, casting sharp shadows across his faceplate. We're close. The hive's neural core should be just beyond that bulkhead. He pointed to a massive, tumorous growth that had completely consumed the doorway ahead. Marcus wiped sweat from his brow, leaving a smear of grime. Tell me again why we're walking into the belly of the beast instead of nuking this place from orbit? Kara checked her wrist display, the blue light reflecting in her sharp green eyes. Because if we don't extract a live sample, the next colony won't get any warning. Daniel's hands shook as he reloaded his plasma rifle. And how exactly are we supposed to get a sample from that? He gestured to the throbbing biomass blocking their path. Jace turned to face them, his visor retracting with a hiss. His face was drawn, the blue veins beneath his skin more pronounced than before. Here's the play. Kara and I will breach the core chamber. Our systems can withstand the hive's defenses long enough to get what we need. Ava stepped forward. And us. You're our backup. If we don't make it out in 5 minutes, you detonate the charges we planted upstairs, Kara finished, slapping a small device into Ava's palm. The display showed a countdown already set for 300 seconds. Marcus's eyes widened. That's a hell of a contingency plan. Jace's grin was grim. Welcome to Special Forces. With a synchronized motion, Jace and Kara activated their armor's full combat protocols. Energy shields shimmered into existence around them as their weapon systems powered up with a rising whine. Kara turned to Ava one last time. Remember, 5 minutes. Not a second more. Then they were moving, their armored forms slicing through the organic barrier like hot knives through butter. The biomass shrieked as it parted, revealing a chamber beyond that glowed with sickly blue light. The moment they disappeared inside, the growth began sealing behind them. Daniel exhaled sharply. This is insane. Ava checked the timer. For 52 remaining. Get those charges ready. If that timer hits 0, we blow this place sky high. The sound from beyond the pulsating wall were nightmarish. Wet, tearing noises, energy weapon discharges, and something that might have been screaming. The entire facility trembled as if in pain. Marcus kept his rifle trained on the corridor behind them. You think they knew? Earth Command, I mean, about what was really down here. Ava's grip tightened on her weapon. They sent Jace's team. That answers your question. 2:17 on the timer. An explosion rocked the chamber beyond, sending chunks of biomass flying. The wall bulged outward as something massive impacted it from the other side. Daniel backed away, weapon raised. That didn't sound good. 1:45. The biomass barrier ruptured suddenly, and Kara came flying through the opening. Her armor was smoking. Entire sections melted away to reveal bleeding wounds beneath. She skidded across the metal floor, coming to rest at Ava's feet. Ava dropped to her knees. Kara, where's Jace? Kara coughed up blood that shimmered faintly blue. Core's unstable. He's trying to... Another explosion cut her off. 0:58. Marcus grabbed Ava's arm. We have to go. Now. Ava looked between the timer and the ruined entrance. At 0:45, a massive shockwave blew out what remained of the barrier. Jace emerged at a dead run, his armor in tatters, clutching a glowing containment unit to his chest. Run, he bellowed. They didn't need telling twice. The group sprinted back the way they'd come as the entire facility began collapsing behind them. The walls bled molten blue fluid, the catwalk shaking violently beneath their feet. 0:12 as they reached the ascent shaft. Jace shoved the containment unit into Ava's hands. Get this to the surface. It's our only chance. Ava's eyes widened. What about you? Jace turned back toward the crumbling tunnel, his ruined armor flaring one last time. I'll hold them off. Kara struggled to her feet. Like hell you will. She grabbed a rifle from Daniel and limped back to Jace's side. 0:05. Ava opened her mouth to protest, but Marcus grabbed her and Daniel, dragging them into the lift. No time. As the lift ascended, the last thing Ava saw was Jace and Kara standing back to back, weapons raised, as the hive's creatures poured toward them through the collapsing tunnel. The explosion rocked the entire complex just as they reached the surface. The ground buckled, a pillar of blue fire erupting into the sky. Ava clutched the containment unit, its glow the same shade as Jace's eyes had been in that final moment. Inside, something pulsed rhythmically. Alive. Waiting. Chapter 6. The escape shuttle trembled as it broke atmosphere, the containment unit secured in a makeshift cradle between the seats. Ava couldn't tear her eyes away from the pulsing blue light inside. It beat like a heart, slow and steady. Marcus collapsed into the co-pilot's chair, his hands shaking on the controls. We're clear. Orbital station's prepping a quarantine bay. Daniel leaned against the bulkhead, his face ashen. They're really gone? Just like that. The containment unit flickered, casting eerie shadows across the cabin. Ava tightened the restraints. Jace knew what he was doing. This sample was worth dying for. A sudden proximity alarm blared. Marcus swore, fingers flying across the console. We got company. Through the viewport, 3 sleek interceptors fell into formation around them. Not Krellis designs, not Earth military. Their smooth, organic curves shimmered with the same blue energy they'd just escaped. Daniel's breath hitched. Oh God, they got ships now. The comm crackled to life with a voice that wasn't quite mechanical, wasn't quite organic. Surrender the vessel. You carry stolen property. Marcus's jaw tightened. Like hell we do. He slammed the throttle forward, sending the shuttle into a violent, evasive roll. Ava grabbed the comm. Orbital command. We are under attack. Request immediate assistance. Static. Then a new voice, human, broke through. Shuttle Krellis. 5. This is Earth Battlecruiser Dauntless. Hold position for emergency docking. A massive shadow eclipsed the stars as the Dauntless dropped out of warp directly above them. Its ventral hangar yawned open like a steel mouth. The alien ships hesitated, circling like sharks. Then as one, they opened fire. Plasma bolts streaked toward the shuttle. At the last second, the Dauntless point defense guns roared to life, intercepting the barrage in flashes of white-hot energy. Marcus hooped. That's what I'm talking about. The shuttle shuddered as tractor beams locked on, hauling them toward the safety of the hangar bay. The last thing Ava saw before the doors closed was the alien ships breaking off, vanishing into the void with unnatural speed. The moment they touched down, a dozen hazmat-suited soldiers surrounded them. A familiar face pushed through the crowd. Admiral Graves, his weathered features grim under the hangar lights. Commander Carter, his eyes locked onto the containment unit. You have it. Ava didn't let go. Jace and Kara didn't make it. Graves' expression didn't change. They knew the mission. He reached for the unit. This changes everything. Ava pulled back. What are you going to do with it? For the first time, something like emotion flickered in Graves' eyes. What we should have done years ago. He gestured to a massive observation window overlooking the hangar. Ava's breath caught. Rows upon rows of armored pods lined the far wall, each pulsing with the same blue light as Jace's armor had. Project Titanfall was never just about defense, Graves said quietly. Now we take the fight to them. The containment unit throbbed in Ava's hands, as if in response. Somewhere in its depths, something ancient and terrible stirred. And for the first time, Ava wondered who had really won on Krellis 5. Chapter 7. The observation deck of the Dauntless was eerily silent as Ava stared at the rows of dormant Titanfall pods. Each one pulsed with that familiar blue glow, their rhythmic breathing creating an unsettling symphony of light in the dim hangar. Admiral Graves stepped beside her, his hands clasped behind his back. Beautiful, aren't they? The next generation of hybrid warriors. Ava's fingers pressed against the cold glass. You're creating an army of Jaces. Not creating, Graves corrected. Harvesting. He tapped the console, bringing up a star map dotted with red markers. Krellis 5 was just the latest infection point. We've been tracking these outbreaks for years. Marcus whistled low. So what's the play? Send in your super soldiers to clean house. Graves' smile didn't reach his eyes. We're past containment, Sergeant. This is eradication. Daniel, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly stepped forward. And what happens when your pet project turns against us? That thing in the containment unit isn't just some mindless parasite. The Admiral's gaze flicked to the secure lab where the hive sample was being analyzed, which is exactly why we need to understand it. The hive adapts, learns, so you want to weaponize its intelligence. Ava interrupted, realization dawning. You're not just fighting them. You're trying to become them. A sudden alarm blared through the ship. The lights shifted to emergency red as a voice crackled over the comms. All hands, battle stations. Multiple unidentified contacts emerging from warp. Graves rushed to the viewport. Outside, space seemed to tear open as dozens of the organic ships poured into the system, their blue energy trails painting streaks across the black. Marcus slammed his fist against the glass. They followed us. The containment unit in the lab below began vibrating violently, its glow intensifying to a blinding radiance. The lead alien ship pulsed in perfect synchronization. Ava's blood ran cold. It's not just following us, it's calling to them. Graves' face hardened. Activate the Titanfall pods. Now, throughout the hangar, the armored capsules hissed open one by one. Inside each stood a figure like Jace, humanoid but enhanced, their bodies threaded with blue energy. They stepped forward in perfect unison, moving toward waiting drop ships. Ava grabbed Graves' arm. You can't send them out there. The hive will just absorb them. The Admiral pulled free, his eyes blazing. That's the point, Commander. Every one of those soldiers carries a tailored bioweapon in their bloodstream. When the hive consumes them, it consumes its own destruction, Daniel finished, horrified. The first wave of Titanfall soldiers launched into the void, streaking toward the alien fleet. Ava watched helplessly as the two forces collided. Blue energy meeting blue energy in a silent, deadly ballet. Then something unexpected happened. The alien ships hesitated. For the first time, they broke formation, their movements becoming erratic. Some even turned on each other in sudden, violent bursts. Graves' triumphant smile faded. That's not possible. Ava understood first. They're not just fighting the infection. They're fighting against it. She whirled on Graves. Those aren't mindless invaders. They're victims, just like us. The containment unit below shattered in an explosion of blue light. At the same moment, every Titanfall soldier in space froze mid-combat. Then as one, they turned, not toward the alien ships, but back toward the Dauntless. Graves stumbled back from the viewport. No, that's impossible. Alpha met Marcus Sterefant Geish. The same realization passed between them. The hive hadn't been defeated on Krellis 5. It had hitched a ride home, and now it had an army. As the first impacts rocked the Dauntless, Ava knew the real war was just beginning. And that was the end of the story. Comment below if you want the next chapter, and hit that like button. Please subscribe, turn on the bell, and as always, keep the last light burning.